So, Matt,
yes.
I think you're going to be pretty excited because just around the corner, you will finally be able to mishandle prostitutes once again in Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, God. Oh.
I'm just basing this on how you used to play the game on your live streams, you know?
I was not sure where that one was going.
Is that the right term? Do I say sex worker now?
I don't know. I have no idea. Is it politically correct? Are there politically correct terms for this?
Probably. I don't know. I think I'm going to turn into like those old politicians that use that old terminology where people are like, oh, you can't say that anymore. I'm like, well, when I grew up, you said.
When I grew up, how dare you?
You said the
Things
P
are
word.
changing too quick. Things are changing too quick, though.
They are.
Did you hear that the word of the year is Riz?
Riz.
Riz is the. Do you know what Riz is?
Oh boy! All right, no,
I don't know what. Oh, no, it's basically charisma. It's literally just charisma.
Why do we need to make that a short word? How often do people use the term charisma? It just means that you're likable, basically.
Yeah. They got Riz. They have charisma.
Oh, they got Riz. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always the last to hear about these terms.
I'm rizzed up. I don't know if that's actually a term people use, but yeah, it's the word of the. I'm rizzed up, baby.
You got Riz, Matt. Riz Timio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right back at you. We sound so old.
Well, that's what I think we're just going to have to, I was thinking about some different names for the podcast. I was thinking two white guys have another podcast as like one of the titles, you know, just two white guys in their podcast or like, old gamers just rant about stuff, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah. My favorite is the term that Zoomers use, which is bricked up, which means that they're hard. And what I think of is they're constipated.
Yeah, that does make me think of constipation much more than the other thing.
That's what I'm saying. So anytime someone says that phrase, I'm like, excuse me?
Well, it's like when people say, I'm going to shit a brick, right? Like that's
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my thought too. Yes. So it's kind of ironic that's how things change.
Kids these days, man.
They just don't know their lingo.
They don't get it. Is lingo just getting worse and worse, or are we just older?
I think we're just getting older. Yeah. I mean, we would use phrases like "that's sick" to describe things that definitely weren't ill.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we do. Well, it's dope, stuff like that. Yeah, we're making up words.
Oh, that's hella tight. That's what I used to say.
Mm-hmm.
Hella tight.
We're just getting old level.
Yeah. Did you, probably not, because I think this happened moments before the podcast went live, but somebody leaked the GTA 6 trailer.
Oh, I'll probably just wait for the official one.
Yeah, well, because they put buy Bitcoin across the front of it, so you can't even watch it. It just says buy Bitcoin. And you're like, okay, like you think this is gonna?
Bitcoin always associated with stuff that's clearly shady. It's like, oh, hey, there's this leaked. Oh, and Bitcoin. Yeah. Okay,
because crypto bros, man, they're like, I don't know, man. I know. I wish cryptocurrency is a cool thing that just got wrapped up in like the douchiest stuff of all time. You know, you're like, oh, this is an interesting technology. And then people are like, buy my Bored Ape yacht thing or whatever, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
It definitely died down though, which I'm glad that it did. Because I don't want people to lose their money, but I didn't like the way that things were heading for crypto and all that. And so I'm like, it's basically, NFTs too. I'm glad it all kind of
it's died down for now, Matt. It's going to come back. Give it another year or two.
I'm sure it'll hit the moon or something.
And then we'll be like, did you buy the latest Matimio coins or whatever? You're going to be shilling it on your stream, you know?
Oh, yeah. You know me. Just can't wait to just get that next thing to sell
Matimio's worth more than Doge now. Haven't you heard?
Also, how do you know when you hit the moon? When they're like, to the moon. Well, what's the moon? When do we get to the moon? And what happens? Do we all get off at the moon? Do we keep going to Mars? Like,
some people get off at the moon. Yeah. Hopefully. I think that's the idea, is you want to get off at the moon and then you have a giant.
How awesome it would be to have a moon base. I want civilization to get to the point where we have an established moon base, you know?
I think they're working on it. I think that's I think NASA Their latest moon mission stuff. Have you seen the cool rover that they've designed for it?
No.
It's pretty neat looking. The only problem is that they're going to the moon and nobody cares, right?
Because I care.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do there, Matt? Other than
establish a base, and that base allows us a foundation to go to everywhere else in our solar system. LevelCap. It's an incredibly integral part of the intergalactic conquest.
Yeah, I just wish there was more there. It's just gray. It's just rocks and kind of gray dust.
Oh my God, did you mean to do this?
What?
Transition into Starfield?
No. What's the transition?
Bro, there was okay, for those, this is flawless. It's like we're professionals or something like that. Speaking of the moon, Starfield, they had some people responding. It was probably I don't know, maybe interns, who knows, but they were responding to criticisms on like Steam reviews. So one of them was, hey, there isn't a lot of things to do on these planets. They're kind of boring. And they had a response to that, which was astronauts who went to the moon weren't bored, even though there wasn't anything up there, because they're astronauts. And they were trying to equate being an astronaut to exploring the moons and planets of Starfield.
Nice.
It was the dumbest response. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, they weren't bored because like they're in the most hostile environment known to man. If they screw up anything, they're dead.
Right.
Yeah, and then they have like a very specific amount of time in which they have to accomplish like 20 different goals and missions. Yeah, they're not bored because they're like, we have to do these 20 things and there's $2 billion riding or $20 billion riding on this and we gotta Of course they're not bored. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that tends to happen when you have adrenaline coursing through your veins for like 48 hours straight, you know? My God.
Yeah, so they responded to a bunch of different reviews and like that people that left comments and stuff like that on Steam. And that was the one that really caught my eye. It's like, are you kidding me right now? You can't equate the two even close.
So were these developers or Star Citizen official?
It was probably like a PR. I don't know who was in charge, but yeah, it wasn't like Todd was responding to these criticisms or anything like that. But they were responding, and it just once again, I think Star Citizen gets a lot of probably too much hate. There seems to be a bit of a hate bandwagon. There's definitely criticisms that the game deserves, but it feels like people like to pile on now.
Yeah. You mean Starfield?
Starfield. Did I say Star Citizen? Apologies.
Yeah.
Starfield, Star Citizen, Stars.
They both get a lot of hate. I just wasn't sure if you were building a point. No. Okay.
That's fair. So but they're not helping their case.
No, they're just
making comments like that, you know?
It's entertaining, man.
It is.
I enjoy it. I don't think Starfield is going to hold up to the test of time to the likes of other Bethesda games that have people have really enjoyed as much with modding, because I don't see how much modding is going to be able to fix the core loading problems and stuff that really get in the way, but I don't know.
LevelCap, I can't tell if you were just the best person for transitions in my entire life, because ironically, I just saw an article where Todd was talking about how he wanted this game to last as long as Skyrim. So, buckle up for another 10 years, 20 years of Starfield, because that's what we're going to get.
Oh boy, I can't wait for Starfield 2, where the main feature is 50% less loading screens or something.
Yeah. See, the thing that goes to where I actually think the game would have been more fun traveling around and discovering things is if it was more true to life, where you did have to deal with zero gravity and you had to fly around going from the planet to space. And then if all of that was like Star Citizen, I mean, that's why Star Citizen's so much fun, right? It is all connected and all of those things.
Yeah. And there's challenges in landing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Where do I set down? Where do I land? Oh, I'm getting too close to the outpost. They're going to detect me. Let me fly somewhere else. There's a whole nuance in gameplay there, other than now just get out and run to the waypoint, scan the thing, kill the guy, whatever, Yeah.
So ironically, I think if it was more true to life, like an actual astronaut, it probably would have been more entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah. And they had EVA, the 0G astronaut mechanics in the game, and they used it never.
Sparingly.
Yeah, there's
Very
like
sparingly.
very few moments. I was like, those are some of my favorite parts of like, you ever played, oh man, there's this really good single player game. It's called Prey.
Oh yeah.
Did you played it?
I played a little bit. I for some reason stopped.
Okay.
I need to play it again because it's apparently incredible.
It's great. It's a fantastic sci-fi game, and it's got lots of missions where you're outside of a space station doing EVA stuff, and it's all puzzly, and you have to watch your oxygen and all this other stuff, and they just do a really good job, and you're like, man, I love how much fun these EVA assignments can be, and like Starfield's like they made it all, and then they didn't do anything with it, and I was like, huh. Weird.
Well, I think they had just a bunch of different people working on certain like different projects, and then they all combined them at the end, and that's why things kind of feel so separate. That's my guess, at least.
You know, it is looking a little bit better than kind of Starfield is Stalker 2. They released a new trailer. So
I saw.
What happened is the original teaser trailers for Stalker looked really cool because it's like Unreal Engine 5 cranked to the max, and everybody's like, whoa, this looks dope. Then they launched another trailer that was for the Gamescom demo, and it looked like dialed way back. It looked like an older game, and some people were pointing out that it didn't even look quite as good as some of the Stalker mods that are out right now. Then they released a new trailer just recently, and the graphics seem to be dialed all the way back up. So
maybe not as dialed up, but like especially the facial animations in particular. That was the one thing that I noticed, is that like the faces looked really good, very uncanny valley, but like you could see like the sweat on his brow and everything, and it looked great.
Yeah, it seems like the game is setting up for a bit of monologuing, but like in a cool way. If you're familiar with that universe, it's very dark and dystopian. And I mean,
you don't say.
yeah. It's called Stalker, which is kind of an interesting name because it's not about stalking people.
I guess you're supposed to be sneaky around, and you know, who knows?
Yeah. It's not the Stalker game that you like to play, Matt. Okay, you know.
What are you trying to insinuate, LevelCap? Please, sir. I am a man of honor and dignity. Please.
Yeah. Anyway, the new Stalker trailer looks cool. I'm excited for it. I still don't think there's... Q1 2024 is the release date for it. So they're trying to stick to it, and I hope they can. Because that's...
If they have the delay, just delay it. I don't think anyone's going to give them a hard time about it. I mean, people will, obviously, but people who actually have like even a decent amount of self-respect.
There's also the economic side of it when people are always like, just delay the game, and people are like, well, we only have this much budget to pay our staff, so we got to launch it at a certain point, otherwise we're deeply in the red, you know. Hopefully that'll be a good title, but I'm excited for it. And the new trailer got me it's taking me on my little emotional roller coaster of like, is this game gonna suck, is it gonna be great? We'll find out soon. Speaking of dark dystopian games, you see the latest Fortnite news? No.
I think I did. What about it?
The Fortnite Lego stuff? Have you seen that?
Oh, I saw like a little bit of, but I didn't actually see gameplay or anything. I just knew that there was Lego.
I don't think they've shown off gameplay, but they're like... So I was trying to figure out what it is.
I saw M&M turn into a Lego. That's basically all I saw. Yeah.
It actually looked cool because... Fortnite hasn't turned my head in like years, right? They haven't done anything where I'm like, whoa, time to hop back in.
And then Lego shows up, you're like, let's go Fortnite.
Exactly.
I'm all in, baby.
I think they're kind of embracing their demographic a bit, but you know me, I'm a big Lego fan, so I saw it and I was like, it actually makes sense given all the construction in Fortnite. So I'm like, okay, it finally is adding up thematically, because before it was just like, hey, you guys want to go shoot some stuff and also build things randomly out of thin air? And you're like, I guess? Yeah. This game is super successful, but like thematically very confusing.
Unbelievably successful. I played it actually last night.
What? Oh, Fortnite Classic? Did you do the classic?
Yeah, I didn't play Lego, but I played the Battle Royale. And it shows you how many people are playing. They had 1.3 million people playing the build version, and then the no build, which is just the one that I played because I don't know how to build. They had 1 million as well.
Dear God.
Like
that is
the amount
insanity.
of people playing that game is, I mean, they just came out with their new chapter 5, which, you know, that's probably why there's so many people
it's time
on
to
right
buy
now.
some Epic stock, dude. I'm going to go buy some Epic stock.
Freaking nuts how many people were playing.
I wonder how the their editor has been impacting the player numbers at all. Did from the main menu, does it show places where you can play the modded versions or like the mod scene?
I didn't get into it, but it looked like they also had like different mods and also how many people were playing in those mods too.
Okay.
But I didn't take a close enough look at it.
Yeah, I'd be curious because they're very much trying to just like say, hey, Roblox, we're going to do exactly what you're doing, but on the Unreal 5 engine, and good luck. You know, it feels like Roblox's days might be numbered, but we'll see. I mean, Roblox is a behemoth.
If you have an established player base, as long as that established player base could grow out of it, and then what are you left with, right?
Yeah, if the new players are coming in a Fortnite and not going to Roblox, then its days are numbered. Speaking of numbered days, you liking all our amazing transitions?
This is podcast? Very good. Yeah, we're so professional.
The days are numbered to the release of Skull and Bones, that game that's been in production forever, I think.
Is it okay? We say it's going to come out.
Ubisoft says February 2024. So if they're wrong, we're going to find out very soon, right?
That is true.
Yeah,
that is only a couple months away. But like they've said they've had this release date so many times. How many times has it been delayed? Like at least more than 10 times.
I don't know, but that sounds about right. That does sound about right. It's become a meme at this point where people are like, I don't even care. Just if a cool pirate game comes out someday, then great. I'm just gonna, I'll sit here but yeah, it's happening, I guess. You played it a couple of years ago, 1 year ago, maybe?
No, I don't think it's been that long.
Okay, more recent.
6 months, maybe?
And you were not super impressed, or you liked it?
No, I actually kind of thought it was neat, but I was worried about the longevity of it because you literally start off with nothing, right? You basically have like a tiny little just dinghy. I don't know what they're actually called. You basically have this tiny little ship. You go around, you scavenge for like resources, and then you buy your first ship, and then you go out and you do piracy, and then you get a bigger ship, and then bigger, and you get better upgrades, and it really turns into kind of like an odd RPG. And who knows what the actual game's going to look like, because eventually I was getting upgrades that I could heal friendly ships. So I could send out, like I could shoot a friendly ship with a healing cannon and heal them. So it's like walking this line of trying to be like piracy, but also at the same time being a video game RPG.
That's tough because the trailers that I think attracted everybody in the first place made it look a bit more hardcore and a little more realistic. And then if you're like, I shoot you with my heal cannon, and you're like, what is happening now?
Right. The thing is like, it also has like end game content where you will attack giant keeps and there'll be different challenges and you'll explore the world and then you'll get better loot for doing those activities. There's like raids, I guess. And we'll see. It just feels like a concept that sounded really cool in theory. And now they're trying to make it work. And it's just not as cool as they may have thought. And they've just been scrambling, trying to like get it to work.
Yeah. And I think when they announced it, it must have been closer to around when Sea of Thieves was like just getting started or something. I can't even remember.
Maybe.
I'm probably off on this. But I think it was before Sea of Thieves had fully established the game. Because Sea of Thieves started off in like, it just wasn't particularly content rich when it first came out. So people burned out.
It was heavily
quick.
Criticized.
But they've added so much to it now. So now it's like, okay, now you're coming into a market in which there's already a fairly accessible sort of open world style pirate game out there. So good luck, you know?
Yeah. And the fact that it's all third person too, you do eventually go into third person technically, where you wander around as a person, you know, and like there's treasure that you can find on islands, which is kind of neat, I guess. It's very odd, but you can never like go and board another person's ship and then start doing melee combat or something.
Yeah.
It's all just ship to ship, which I know some people are not going to be a fan of, considering that this was...
It's already a downgrade of Sea of Thieves from that regard.
Right. In that respect. Yep.
What is...
I don't know.
What is second person? We always say first person, third
First
person.
person, second person. I have no. Does second person even exist?
I don't know. Nobody does actually.
Is second person in the room with you right now?
We don't know. Are you gonna Google it, Matt?
Yep.
Why is there no second person?
Second person is the you perspective. That's so according to Google. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, me either. We're not smart enough for this one, man.
Hell no.
No way.
Hell no.
Yeah.
So you said February is when it releases, though?
February.
God, what a dumb. English is so stupid.
I know, dude. Well, I think we should all just start saying February just to
like
say it like it's spelled.
Like Wednesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
It's like why do we do this to ourselves?
I don't know, man.
There's so many stupid things about English. I swear to God.
I know. And then Americans were like, let's adopt the U.S. standard measurement system because that's...
Oh, my Lord. Why
sense.
did we do that?
No,
and there's no way we're going to change it, but I wish we could change because it's such a better system.
Yeah, I can teach you the metric system in like a minute. And you're just like, okay, it makes sense to me. Multiples of 10, who would have thought?
Easy. Yeah, just keep going up. That's simple.
Yeah.
Like, no. I mean, like, if we really did make the transition, it would take a long... Like, all of our roads, all of our signs, everything is in...
Yeah. One of the Martian lander craft crashed horribly because one team was doing metric and the other team was doing US standard. And it was like, oh, yeah. Yep, that'll do it when your craft is going... I'm pretty sure
they never do that now. It's always just metric, so...
Yeah, I think NASA works exclusively in metric, but I don't know.
You would have thought they would have done that before, but, you know, that's fine.
Yeah, imperial system, right? Okay, it was made by the English. Wasn't it like the king system or something? I don't even know, man. Chat's trying to correct our stupidity over here on our actual...
Are we being stupid? We're not being stupid, are we? Well, technically, the imperial system we use was made by the English, and they use it miles per hour, but they use the metric for everything else. Oh, well, doesn't matter who started it. It still sucks, and we still use it like idiots. So
yeah. There's this. So speaking of space people using the metric system, there's this.
No, that was the truth. Actually, yes, go.
I'm trying here.
Cook it, baby. You got it.
Go. Another cool space game that uses metric is Star Citizen.
Who could have seen this one coming? Okay, all right. Let's see. What do you got? What do you got for me this year? This week, I should say, not year.
So, there's a bit of spicy drama going on in the Star Citizen community.
I love drama. Okay.
Avenger One, a notable community member, put out a video on the toxic underworld of Star Citizen, where he dug up quite a few recorded meetings and conversations from one of the most toxic orgs, I guess, in the game.
Okay.
And it's pretty vile stuff. These are people that are like fighting in a video game for territory, but they're talking about doxing people and like making deep fakes and trying to ruin their reputation IRL. And then
what?
Yeah, it's wild. And one of them spit on a streamer at CitizenCon, like because they just have a war against different peoples. It's pretty wild stuff, dude.
Wait a second. They're playing a video game.
Correct.
Where they're supposed to have fun, and their fun is to take it to a personal level where it affects real life situations. Yeah,
and the meetings of this org are just so damning. When you listen to them talk, they're just like, does anybody have a problem with us taking this to like any moral issues with us taking this to a level where we're going to like ruin their org and have them disband and like turn them against each other and like destroy their credibility and reputation. And they're taking it's like they read Sun Tzu, like The Art of War, and are like, let's just employ all the horrific tactics of actual warfare in any way possible.
But for a video game with real people and who are just trying to have fun.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. And the thing is like, while this might seem like some sort of weird outlier in terms of like, there's just one org of a bunch of bad apples. Unfortunately, this is something that has happened in EVE Online as well.
Really?
Yeah, they get really crazy about territorial wars over there because you can actually own areas of space for the most part. But
that's the thing is, you can't own territory in Star Citizen. So what are they?
Yeah, that's
what
why
are they doing? What are they doing?
That's what's freaky is like, it's sort of like EVE is getting started over here before there's even a reason to have that level of warfare. Not that I would say there's ever a reason to have that level of warfare, but you know, it's pretty wild to watch. It's just toxic people kind of getting together and being more toxic, you know, and enabling each other to do worse and worse things to other players. But
man, see, I like the stories from EVE where there was like one person who infiltrated a certain company and rose through through the ranks to the point where, and then they self-sabotaged because they were actually a spy the entire time and like flipped the switch, and then it was devastating for that organization. Like stuff like that for the organization would suck. But like as a story,
it happens in game too, right? It's happening in game where they can do all this crazy stuff, and I would say to some extent there's some issues with it in that, like, you know, they tried to start a bank in EVE, and like one of the guys who was running the bank took all the money out of it and sold it, you know, and so like there's some problems with that type of stuff, but I guess that is because that did translate to real world, so that's really the problem with it there. But
right.
Yeah, I like the sort of sabotage and spying stuff that can be fun to a certain degree as long as you leave it in the game. Right. If you see these people at a convention, you're not like, you know, having animosity towards them and anger. You're like, oh, good, you know, good time. You spied on us there and like screwed us over. You know, it's all fun and games, right? But these guys are just taking it to this level where, Jason brought it up. One of the somebody that we like, you know, a content creator got spit on at the CitizenCon, and it's just like,
it's disgusting.
These guys are just, Anyway, so people are sort of waiting to see if CIG is going to take a stronger stance against this, or if they're going to let players try and handle it legally, because some of the stuff they're doing is technically illegal, you know, with the doxing and stuff like that.
I feel like it's on them to try and foster a community that is at least not that toxic, you know.
I agree.
There's always going to be toxicity in any game, you know. You're not going to be able to stop it entirely, but that doesn't mean they can't try and curve that a little bit.
Yeah, I try and put myself in their shoes as if we're fostering a gaming community. You want the community to be healthy, and you want to promote good values and good ideals. And when people take it beyond the system, you go, okay, well, technically this is a legal matter, but we have indisputable evidence of these people doing this. We're gonna ban them. You know, that's the in-game punishment that we have power over, right? And so it does get complicated because you do have to have indisputable evidence, or like at least you want to set a standard, right? Where you're like, we're not going to ban people unless we have very, very high degree of evidence showing that they have done these actions. But in this case, there is pretty much indisputable stuff. It's all recorded and a lot of other stuff. So I would hope that CIG sort of puts their foot down now, because it'll be easier to stamp it out by setting an example now rather than waiting like, 2 to 3 years down. Yeah, if it gets really, really bad and they had an opportunity to curb it earlier, then it's going to be harder to stop it at a later date. So
that's just unfortunate that people are taking it to that extreme. Like I get wanting to be competitive, and I get trying to, you know, there's some fun to be had where you know, it's a part of your life. I get that, but to take it to that point,
I've got no issue with people kind of being trolls in game, right? Like if that's who you want to be a pirate and you want to go screw somebody over, then go do it. But like, once you start like aggressively, say, stream sniping content creators or doing anything IRL, you know, using IRL tools to screw people over, and the doxing thing and all that stuff.
That's just literally way beyond the line. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm hoping it doesn't get started in Star Citizen. I hope they take the means necessary to curb it. But that's kind of the darker side of what has come to light recently about some members of the community. Overall, Star Citizen, really warm, welcoming community. But like any community, they got their bad apples, right?
Mm-hmm.
The latest thing in terms of what's happening in the game is they're testing a new patch right now, which has got the giant salvage arm that comes off the front of this huge spaceship and is supposed to rip apart ships. I think I was talking to you about it a while ago, where you could like hole scrape the outside of ships. This new patch, now you can finally disintegrate the entire hull of a ship and gobble it up.
Oh wow! Does it actually show it visually, like you just slowly destroying?
But it looks like garbage, and so the community.
I figured it would, right?
The community's not particularly happy, and CIG did not announce that this was actually a placeholder effect until they figure out a better thing, because they're waiting on a more advanced system called Maelstrom to come into the game before they do it the way.
Difficult.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get an animation? Because basically it's a different art asset for all the different phases. And how do you make those phases not look bad? That's got to be so hard.
It's really tricky. I think they're on to something with the way it works, but it's a very first step implementation of salvage, because I was salvaging a small ship, and it took me like 10 minutes to hole scrape and then break down the whole hole and bring it into my cargo bay. And then I hopped on with a buddy while we were streaming, and he was like, "Oh dude, let me show you how broken this is." And we went out in the reclaimer, got a bigger level salvage mission. He's like, "Don't bother hole scraping it. We'll just break down the entire thing and scoop it up in like a few seconds, because it's super fast." And it's worth like millions and millions of dollars. And so it's all broken right now in terms of like how quick and easy it is to do. But technically there is a way to disintegrate a spaceship now and have it disappear from existence, which is kind of cool. So
that is cool. I mean, I guess what they could do to make it so that you don't have to have like an animation is you hole scrape it, and then the pieces that you then can like put into your ship, and then the ship inside like the interior, and then that causes it to disintegrate into the individual parts. That would be like another way. I thought
that's what they were going to do, because the interior of the reclaimer has a room that shows these giant grinders. Grinding stuff together. So I thought you'd see the bits of metal fall down there, and that would all happen inside the ship, right? So you just feed it parts. But I think maybe one day they want to build up to that, but they're just like, we can't do that yet because we're limited with the Maelstrom system, which is their new destruction system. So
gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway, it looks cool. I think we're going to get another good patch before the end of the year, and seems relatively stable. So that's exciting.
Neat.
Yeah.
At least that's a brighter side of things instead of the darkness that we just talked about.
The toxicity.
The darkness.
Yeah. This isn't Destiny, man. We don't just have like vague darkness everywhere.
So speaking of Destiny, they're in hot water again. Destiny's just they're struggling a little bit. There is some positivity. They had a recent dungeon come out. I haven't played it myself, but people are happy with it. There's a new season that's going to last, I think, like 8 months, which is maybe 6-8 months. That's a long time. And yeah, Destiny's going to have to really prove themselves over this next year. So
yeah, I'm curious to see how Bungie kind of handles themselves as a company, because they've been with Destiny for a while. They don't really have a lot of other banging IPs going on right now. It's a lot of eggs in one basket, right?
It is.
They were sort of under the Microsoft umbrella for a long time, and now Microsoft are the beholders of Halo, right? And now Bungie's like, okay, well, we got Destiny and Marathon, which, yeah, I'm curious to see everybody's curious to see what they do with it, because it's Bungie. But yeah, it is a lot of reliance on a single game IP, right? So it's like either you have Destiny 3 right around the corner, or you have some crazy upgrades for the game that are coming soon. I don't know what their numbers are, but it's a lot to be tied up in.
They're in a tight spot, because I think the community is finally starting to get a little tired of their excuses, and there is Dado. We've known Dado for a long time, and he made a video talking about the new season, going over things. And at the very end, like, you could tell how upset he was and how done he was with their like little ways of trying to make more money. So there's a starter pack for $15 and it gives you like a couple of things. And he's just like, what are you guys doing? And you could just hear in his voice how he was just so sick of them just trying to nickel and dime everyone is like, you guys are already in hot water and you put another thing out there to try to make even like more money from new people where this thing doesn't even really help all that much. And I think that just speaks to the entire community in a lot of sense that so when Activision owned, I think it was Activision, right? When they originally owned Bungie, or they were under the umbrella, and then they escaped from under them, and then they went independent, right? Like they were all by themselves. They're like, and now we can. Everyone's thinking, oh, all of these issues with monetization and development and stuff like that was all because of Activision's fault. And then it turned out that no, it was because that it was Bungie all along. And now Bungie is going with Sony. And it's like it's gone like the full circle, right? They left a big company because it would give them independence, and now they're back on underneath Sony's umbrella. It's like, well, of course nothing's going to change. It's going to be as if it always was. So we'll see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We've heard rumors that they know that this next expansion, they know that the final shape is make it or break it for them. If they fail, it's going to be pretty hard for them to come back, and I'm sure it won't go anywhere. I'm sure it will still always be a pretty big title, but they, I think, realize that they've got a lot riding on this expansion if they want to continue being as successful as they've been for as many years as they have. It'd
be interesting if they decided to take a crack at just doing a Destiny 3 and trying to solve some of the problems that the franchise has had with like a redesign, kind of conceptual redesign of how to approach things. I like the universe. They've put a lot of work into building up the characters and the lore and the visuals and all that. And I'm down for having a traditional fantasy game in a first person, shell, if you will.
I hate the way of storytelling though. It's atrocious.
It's very vague. I always hated that too.
It's too vague. Yeah. I don't like vague stories. Like it's ironic because one of my favorite franchises is the Dark Souls franchise, and everything in that is vague. Yeah. But like at least
it's oozing atmosphere though. Dark Souls does, and then Destiny's got the atmosphere, but it kind of doesn't line up with some of the narrative stuff. If that makes sense to a degree.
They're always just talking like space magic and all. And like if you dive into it, it's cool and interesting, but it's like where.
Yeah, they lost me when they just decided not to, with the first game, give any explanation of what the darkness was or any of that stuff at the end of it. And you said that they clarified it a bit more later.
They do clarify it more, yes. Like it's now, I think, well established and everything. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I think they didn't know what it was or something. I don't know.
I think they came out and said, yeah, we didn't know where we were going with this. 100%.
Yeah. It's just the darkness. You gotta fight the darkness. I was like, okay, that's like you put how much money into this game and you didn't even have an idea of what the bad guy was. All right. Interesting, but
yeah. I don't like how vague, because like they do their big stories and sometimes they're interesting, but a lot of times it's like there's a big baddie and they have like a story to tell, but like the overarching thing has always just been like just super vague, and they keep mentioning like you kill like Savathun what feels like a ton of times. It's not actually Savathun. And then is she dead? Is she not dead? It's just, I don't know. It's just all over the place.
You're sort of dealing with space magic and demigod type characters. And then also Destiny 2 was very much kind of a militaristic campaign, right? Where you've got like, here's these big bad guys and they look like ogres with jump jets. And then it's like a military campaign. And you're like, okay, so like some of it's space magic, demigod stuff, and the other side of it is like, now we have armies and technology, and you're like, okay, so, and it's just all over the place. You don't really have a good idea of where things rest. Are they just going to be like, oh, well, then the bad guy has the magic crystal, and that thing that gives him all the power, and you're like, okay, I guess he has that now, and you can just make up whatever you want at any point to change the narrative as you need. It just seems silly.
Yeah, I wish that they could express more in the game the really cool concepts that are in there without you having to go somewhere else for it. Because the Hive, like Savathun and all that, they are like millions of years old. And they are a race who basically just went throughout the universe and destroyed things that basically they're all about the strongest survive, right? Like the strongest thrive. And like that's all really cool and they've been around forever. But do you get the impression like when you're in that game that you're fighting a race of, you know, beings that have been around for like millions of years? Like I don't get that impression at all. At least personally.
Yeah.
So it just feels like there's so much great lore there that they don't capitalize on. And when they ever do try to explain things, it's always in this just more amorphous, vague nonsense.
Yeah. And it's funny because fantasy is one of those things where I think they rely a lot on people just sort of enjoying the characters and stuff and not having to explain stuff. But my favorite fantasy are the ones that start to make rules about their universe, and then they stick to the rules and they follow it, and then you know the rules so well that you can start predicting or deciding what you could do within the universe. And that's when fantasy gets really fun. You know, any of that stuff where you're like, oh, I bet in Game of Thrones, this person's going to backstab that person and then they'll have the power dynamic. Or if it's Harry Potter and you know the different spells and what they can do, you're sort of predicting like what capabilities they might have in the next chapter or something. And then Destiny's like, I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
I
don't know. They got a new superpower.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. The darkness is going to get 3 times more powerful, and then we'll get a new Yallarhorn rocket launcher thing. And yeah, it doesn't matter. Just have fun and shoot stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to give you an example of this, this is a little spoilery. This is actually a pretty big spoiler. So it's for the end of I can't remember which one it was, but it was the most recent one about Savathun. So the entire time she has like the Hive champions have ghosts, right?
Yeah.
You're like, how does she get ghosts? Because it's basically like guardians, right?
Did you say ghosts?
Ghosts.
Okay.
Like your little buddies, your companions. The people that
I thought you said goats for a second. I was like,
no, she has magical goats. Yeah, so they just bleating and yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, she's got the little ghosts, right?
Right. So she can bring back her people. They come back to life like you do, right? I mean, that's what makes the Guardians so terrifying is that you kill them and they just come back to life. So, and I think the campaign, all of it was around, and it was a good campaign. I won't lie. It was probably one of their strongest. But then I think at the end, and my memory might be wrong, but you think that she stole them somehow from the Traveler, the giant ball thing. But in reality, the Traveler just gave it. They gave it to her.
And they don't.
I don't think they explain.
They sort of do or something. I don't
think they. I don't think. I'm just like, what is this? I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So I'll have to. I could be wrong, and everyone's probably like, Matt, you idiot, you got this completely off. But
they said, chat says they were tricked. That they were tricked. Is why
they were tricked.
Yeah. But is it like vague writing like that where it's like, we were tricked by her, and you're like, oh, how did that unfold? We're not going to explain it. We will speak vaguely about how we were tricked. Yeah, it is a little bit on par for Bungie's story. I feel like Halo also kind of went off the rails at a certain point with the story writing too, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't know anymore what's happening.
Going back to where you were saying that if the world is well established and then you can predict what's going to happen, that makes it so much fun. That's why I like Brandon Sanderson's novels so much, is that he has a hard magic system where he sets rules for it. And then when he starts doing cool things within those rules, you're like, dope. Like I can see that because you've already established the foundation and you can build off of that. And it's awesome. Yeah. Explain it like thousands of years ago, the Traveler was going to bless the Hive, and then the Darkness Witness pulled the Hive out from under the Traveler's rug, basically. Oh, so okay.
But so that's super vague also.
But then why didn't they have the light all the time then? Like, why was it only until recently were they getting... This is the whole thing I'm talking about, right?
It's all really vague. The rules of the darkness and the light and the whatever are all so vague that you're just like, they could just, whatever, they did the thing and we'll explain it very vaguely, and then you'll just have like a tapestry of the history and you're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. So cool game. I like Destiny 2. I don't mean to like rip on it or anything, but yeah, their story is interesting to say the least.
Yeah. So, cool transition here, Matt. What are your current CO2 levels like in your room.
Is this like an ad read or something for a new CO2? Like
I just can't stop using this new CO2 thermometer. Yeah, no, it's
I have no idea where this is going.
You ever go down a rabbit hole and you're just like, you learn about a dumb thing, like like diet or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going down this rabbit hole and now I'm super educated, or I've learned all this stuff that I didn't know before, and now I can't stop thinking about it. For me, it's been CO2, man. The amount of CO2 in your room. Okay, so when we exhale carbon dioxide, not monoxide. Right. Well, maybe we do. I don't know how much we exhale, but it's carbon dioxide, right? And so if you're in a room with, say, not as good ventilation or circulation, then those levels will go up. And there's all the science behind certain levels of CO2 affecting your cognitive performance by like big percentage margins, right? So like
makes sense.
Yeah, so I've been getting into that, and I did get a little monitor, and I'm like looking at it now in my office, and
oh my god,
I've gone.
So how's your CO2 levels?
They're okay, but I think I might buy some plants to help regulate the CO2.
Will that actually help?
I don't know. They say it does. Actually, some of the stuff that plants do is pretty impressive with how many.
Well, yeah, of course. They're plants. Plants are pretty dope.
Yeah,
but
they're cool. They make our atmosphere. But yeah, no, it's not as. I noticed when I have my office door open and CO2 levels go down to like 600, but then like
I don't even know what that means. But okay,
600 parts per million ppm. Okay.
Okay. What is it at right now?
It's 1030. So
and is that bad?
That's right at the edge of too much. So yeah, once it goes beyond that, so I'm probably at like according to what I've been reading, like 15% ish cognitive, like less cognitive performance. But
so
if you start
your
getting
performance could be better right now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why that transition sucked so much.
Yeah, because you're only using 85% of your
exactly.
I got you.
Yeah, but if that CO2 level went up to 1500, then your cognitive performance can drop by like 50% or something like that. It's interesting because they've been studying it in schools, because they're like a lot of schools have had really bad circulation, so they're like, it's literally no point in like studying in the school environment because your cognitive performance drops so much based on bad circulation. Because the more people are in a room, the more CO2 you're producing.
They're all breathing. Yeah,
it's just me in this office, and when I close the door, the CO2 levels go up, right? And when I turn off my HVAC system, right, and it just because it's loud and it picks up on the mic, then the levels go up. So I don't know. I'm just like monitoring all the rooms now, and I'm like, well, I want good cognitive performance.
Yeah, I don't want to be stupid. Maybe that's why I've been so stupid my entire life.
Yeah,
it might just be because I'm stupid.
Well, maybe you should get a little monitor, see how much CO2's in your room, dude.
I won't lie, it kind of sounds a little bit, I'm sure there's a lot of science behind it, but it does sound like you may have gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole where people maybe swindled you, maybe potentially a little bit, because you do find that online.
I'm not here saying that for sure you guys got to go out there and figure out your CO2 situation. I'm saying that's the rabbit hole I'm going down, and I am concerned. Okay,
it's fair.
Yeah.
You're gonna come back with like a whole thing where you've
next
got
episode,
tubes
dude.
And you've got this whole rig set up to regulate your oxygen and your CO2 levels in your room. Yeah,
I'm gonna have like a little snorkel, and it's gonna have like a tube going out the window so I can breathe fresh air.
There you go.
Just getting my clean air.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Speaking of education, this is a great transition because have you heard about like the education lately for kids and how apparently stupid all of them are?
I mean, it depends what grade level you're talking about, but
yeah. So I mean, I don't have children, but I've just been I'm chronically online.
Sure.
But I keep hearing stories. I've heard them for like a year now of all these teachers straight up being like, there is a serious problem with our basically kids they're just they're dumb. They don't know how to read. They don't know what state they're in. Some of them don't even know what the name of their last name of their parents. And
what?
There's seventh graders who don't know how to read. And then there'll be comments, like on Reddit and stuff like I'm a teacher, like this is no joke. This is endemic. This is a huge problem. And I don't think it's because CO2 levels. I don't think it's because of that.
Might be hurt. It could be hurt by the CO2 levels.
It could be. Yeah, right. So I'm hopeful that it's just because of the COVID situation and the whole school system.
You think COVID made 7th graders dumb overnight?
Not dumb, but it really hindered the education for 2 plus years where things weren't up to the same standards that it may have been before, and that's kind of caused the decline. And then hopefully it'll get back to upward swing.
I think it's been a very, very long trend of the U.S. education system dropping off a cliff. Yeah, we used to have really good, and now we have really bad in many regards. And it just sucks, especially public education, public schools, all that stuff is...
It terrifies me though, because I think education is probably one of the most important things a society needs to improve upon, because it's literally the foundation of your society, and it can solve so many problems if people have a basic good education. And to hear these stories, I'm like, ooh, this could get bad.
It's a bit scary, and I don't know. So when I moved to where I live right now in Washington, we specifically moved to a place that had some of the best ratings for the public schools. So
nice.
Because I was scared of it. I mean, it's not something that's new. I grew up in Oakland, and I went to a public school in Oakland, and it had to be one of the worst schools you could go to.
Oh yeah, no, the education system in the United States has always been pretty rough.
Yeah. This one was next level, so we moved from Oakland to Marin specifically because my parents were like, we got to get out of here. The schools are terrible. Kids are not learning anything. But I had the entire 4th, 5th, and 6th grade classes all in one classroom, all being taught by 2 teachers.
Wow.
And we didn't learn anything. It was a nightmare. And when I moved to a school in Marin County, I was way behind in everything. Reading, writing. And back when they taught cursive, they're like, we're going to do cursive today. I was like, what's cursive? It was it was not good. So depending on where you are, what county, what system you're in, the education could be from a 0 to a 10. I've been pretty plugged into the elementary level stuff for my kids lately, and I'm pretty happy with what I see with them. They seem like they're teaching a lot of good stuff. My kids come home and they're telling me about my son's telling me about how syllables work and stuff. I'm like, great, cool. He's learning all this stuff at school. I feel pretty good about it. Obviously, you do stuff at home too, but it's concerning for sure. And it's hard because you're like, these are the people that are going to ultimately be the voters for our country, and dumb people are easy to manipulate.
They're going to be in charge at some point.
Yeah. And the people who figure out how to manipulate the dumb voter base the best are going to end up winning. And it's just all concerning stuff, because you're like, it's not good. It feels bad.
And you are right that things have always been pretty rough. I didn't know my ABCs until way too late in life. And I, in 4th grade, was reading at a kindergarten level. And I had this great teacher, and she got me up to a 4th grade within a year. She was incredible. So I was I was also real dumb as a kid, still am, but it's when you're hearing these stories of 7th graders who are struggling because they'll put an assignment on the board, and they can't read it. They can't understand. It's that's a problem. Yeah. I know this is a gaming podcast, but
no, it's fair. I mean, if you're out there playing video games, go read a book, man. No, it's
read a book.
Yeah, literally, literacy levels feel like the most basic thing you need to accomplish is an education system. And it's okay,
it's the foundation for learning, right? If you want to learn, you need to be able to read, because that's how you get more knowledge.
Well, and we also have a problem of you get what you pay for in this country, right? And educators have been pretty underpaid for a long time. So you're like, we need smart, dedicated, passionate people to be educators. Also, we're going to pay them crap. And then it's like, okay, so how is this system supposed to work? We're in, I'm not an economist, but it seems like we're heading towards a recession and everything suffers there. And I don't know, like, I really don't know enough about it to tell you what the way out is, other than just like, hold on, people.
Hold. Yeah, no, I feel you.
Buy Bitcoin is what I'm trying to.
I mean, you could if you want. Dude, it's your money. Do what you want. I don't know if I'd advise it.
The leaked GTA 6 trailer told us all to buy Bitcoin.
yeah.
It's like
there you go.
The most ridiculous and GTA appropriate thing I've ever seen, which is the trailer gets leaked. I think the trailer is dropping tomorrow, so it might be out before this podcast goes live. But the leak trailer just across the middle of the screen, so you can't even see what's really happening.
Just says buy crypto.
Buy Bitcoin.
Buy Bitcoin.
It's like, great. Yeah. Who's this going to convince exactly?
Yeah. No one.
Yeah. But I bought some.
Okay. Well, I guess it convinced someone.
I bought a Bitcoin. I don't know how much Bitcoin is worth.
I think
now.
Bitcoin. I mean, one Bitcoin is usually a lot of money. So
I think it is quite a bit of money.
It's like 30,000, something ridiculous. I don't know. I haven't checked in forever. It's a lot.
Chat is saying that they officially released the trailer with no buy Bitcoin watermark on it. Oh,
did they actually release it? Oh, well, cool.
They must have done it in response to the.
They're like, well, it's out there. I guess we'll post it. Yeah.
Cat's out of the bag. Yeah. I am quite excited. It does look cool. More to talk about next. I know you're primarily a GTA streamer these days.
Yes. You know me. Just can't get enough of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been following the Unity news, but they fired most of the employees. I'm not actually sure how many, but most of the people from Weta. So they acquired Weta a few years ago for like $2 billion. And a lot of people know Weta for their VFX work. Mm-hmm. They're very well known in gaming and film and all that stuff for making amazing visual effects stuff. Unity bought it, and then they're like, well, company's not doing good. Time to fire 265 employees directly from Weta. You're like, oof. Now, I'm not saying that Weta wouldn't have maybe had to do their own cuts had they not been purchased. There's a very good chance that they would have. Everything's kind of going crazy now with film and streaming and all that stuff. All the big companies are letting people go and increasing subscription prices and all that stuff. But it's tough to watch because as much as I'm not a huge fan of Unity compared to, like, say, the tech in Unreal, like Unity's fine on its own as an engine. It's really come a long way. Yeah. I want Unreal to have a competitor, because if Unreal doesn't have a competitor, then there are some free, there's like Godot or Godot, however you want to say it, which is like a free to use game design engine. But you need big competitors. Intel needs AMD. AMD needs Intel. Like Xbox needs Nintendo and PlayStation, and they all need each other to make their products better. Or you end up with one crappy product that charges you an arm and a leg.
Right.
So I don't want Unreal to go unchallenged out there as like the best engine, right? So hopefully Unity gets their crap together, because it is not together right now.
Some people are thinking that they're, because I did see that news. Some people are thinking that they're making cuts so that they can serve themselves on a platter for someone to buy them up.
Yeah, that would make sense. Unity is too big of a company for it to just straight up fail. Like, they have a product that's being used by thousands and thousands and thousands of devs around the world. And there's developers with 10 plus years of Unity experience, and that's their whole resume. Like, the engine's not just going to evaporate, but they might sell it, and they might have to greatly downsize or rein in some of their extra projects, which is what it seems like they are doing. Mm-hmm. But but
I agree with you. That's, I mean, I don't want Unity to fail. I think what they've done, the people at the top should be the ones who are honestly suffering, because they're the ones that are making these decisions that is causing their company to have all these problems. But it's a shame that the actual workers are the ones that are paying the price right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in some cases, the devs with that cool Unity install fee thing that seemed to kick off this entire downward spiral. Not that Unity was in a downward spiral, but yeah. But some of our favorite games run on Unity, like I believe BattleBit runs on Unity.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah, could.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I played the new. It's not like it was a free weekend.
But there's new content. There's a bunch of new.
Yeah, there's new content. Yep.
Yeah.
I might actually play more of it tonight. I had that much fun. The game is just satisfying. There's just something about like taking people out in that game just gives you that dopamine hit. Just like just like the recoil and then the hit markers and. It does, like the visuals of it aren't impressive whatsoever.
No.
The new maps that they've made, I think they have done a bit of a step up.
They look a lot better. They kind of reminds me more of Battlefield. Visually, I'm like, oh, this has kind of got this fun tropical vibe thing going on all of a sudden. Some of the older maps are drab and ugly, and you're like, you could just go ahead and delete this map, Like, I don't mind not playing this ever again, but...
and I think they've done a better job with their interiors too, because there were some buildings that was just a flat, like, color.
Yeah, you couldn't tell the difference between the wall and the floor. You're like, I assume there's a seam here somewhere, but I can't see it because there's no shadows on the interior of this hallway.
Yep. So I think that they've taken that feedback to heart, and it's still BattleBit. It still looks similar, but
it's one of my favorite sniping games, dude. Like sniping
the
in
snipers of that
BattleBit
are so unbelievably busted.
Yeah,
like the travel speed on that's like, point and click adventure. Here we go.
Yeah,
they're very strong.
And what other game can you get like 1,000-meter headshot? It's like insanity.
Instantly. Yeah. It is pretty wild.
Yeah, and then sniping the pilots. The way that the Black Hawk helicopters crash is so satisfying when you're in the crash and then it like hits the ground and it's like a wreckage and you kind of come to and then you're like in a firefight. That's the kind of stuff I'm like, dang, like they straight up they did this before Battlefield could, because Battlefield's like, damn, wish we thought of that one. That's so cool.
The one change that I really liked, and maybe you played when they made this adjustment, was so medics were basically required for everything, right? And it felt like if you weren't playing as a medic, you couldn't get back into the action reliably. And so they adjusted it where now if you have a bandage and you heal yourself with it, it will actually heal you. And I think they made that change a while back, but it was only a slight heal, and now it's like 50%. So if you use a bandage twice, you're back up to 50, you're back up to full health, and you can get back into the action. So it just felt like there wasn't this reliance on the medic as much. Now you could argue that's kind of like what Battlefield is, where you just have normal health regeneration. But I thought it was a nice middle ground where you still need to use bandages, you still need to resupply them if you run out, and you get like 5 or something. But the flow just felt a lot better, and I didn't feel like I needed to be attached to the hip from a medic. Good. And also medics didn't need to be just attached to the hip from everyone, just throwing down heals everywhere.
The game has had a little bit of an identity crisis throughout its development, where it started as like, we're going to go Arma squad with our gameplay pacing. And so that's why you see a lot of that weird mag indexing stuff in the game, which sort of feels out of place, That's kind of layover from the original design. And then they realized that, hey, the visual style of the game is not attracting people who want Arma and squad, because those guys are just going to go play Arma and squad. They want to feel like they're in a very realistic war. So then I think they started catering more towards the Battlefield crowd. So you got, when it launched, I think it had a lot of hybrid features that didn't really play well together. You're like, the TTK is crazy fast. I'm using a vector and just dominating people, but then my reload is long, and then I have all this downtime in between, like indexing mags and bandaging up, and the pacing of running and shooting is fast, and then everything in between that is like
super slow.
So it just felt very off in a lot of ways, and it seems like they're trying to dial that in more with their DLC content. And
I think they've done a very good job.
Yeah, I mean, for a 3-man dev team too, you're just like,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think people have pointed out that the player base for Battlebit kind of really tapered off because obviously it hit like an insane number. I think there were like 80, 90,000 at some point. Crazy.
Yeah.
And then it tapered way off. But I think it's going to kind of come back once the game dials in a lot of its kind of janky stuff even more. All it needs is like that extra little bump. And then I think it's just going to end up having like a really stable player base for a while as like the very low cost Battlefield alternative that in many ways plays better than Battlefield, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was always going to happen. It's an indie FPS game. It's like the player base was always going to drop. And
yeah,
I mean, I go back to my stance. So I was getting asked all the time originally when it went into early access, like, is this worth picking up? And while I never feel comfortable saying you should buy a game or not, because I don't know what, the cost value for you. Like, I don't know what $50 is to you, right? Yeah. It could be a lot, could be a little. So that's besides the point. But the whole idea, like, is this worth it? Do you think this is going to last? I think is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And also it negates the idea that you can't enjoy a game just in the here and the now. I had so much fun with Battlebit at launch. I got my money's worth. I don't need Battlebit to last 5 years, right? I hope it does, but there's still enjoyment to be had now. And I think that value is something that more people should appreciate and also
celebrate, right?
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, exactly. And also, if you have this mentality, I'm not going to buy it because I'm worried it's not going to last. That's fine, because some people, they really have to pick and choose what games they buy because of monetary reasons. But also, if you don't buy it, no one buys it, then then there isn't going to be a player base, right?
I mean, $15 for me, it was like a month straight of Battlebit. Yeah. I was just like, this game is awesome. Nobody can stop playing it. Or like, I was running into people I knew in game. The voice comm stuff was amazing. It was offering gameplay experiences that no other shooter had offered. And you're like, at $15 from an indie team, that's incredible. Yeah. And so it's achieved a lot. And I think the devs have made enough where they told me in an interview that they were just going to they had budgeted out for the next 5 years where they could just keep working on it for like 5 years and just make sure that get the game into the state that they want it to be in and add as much stuff as they wanted and tune everything up. And I'm like, great, man, that's awesome. So they're sort of budgeted out and ready to go because it exploded, Yeah,
they made so much money off, and they should. Like, they deserved it because it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, such an interesting dev story where the game was so successful at launch that the cost of running the servers that they needed for all the people playing was huge. I can't remember what they said, but it was something like 15, 30 grand a month or something like that, for servers. And then they're telling me how much it costs to run servers in other countries. And they're like, we get why people don't have servers in these countries. And all these people in these countries complain because they charge like double, triple over there. So they're just like,
I never even thought of that.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I was like, whoa, this has kind of opened my eyes to a lot of like the server economics of the world. But, Steam, I think, pays out every quarter or something like that. So it was going to be like 3 months or something before they got their first paycheck. And they're like, we got to pay bills of like $30,000. Like, it's just going up and up. So they had to take out loans. Otherwise, they would have been like fully bankrupt just to keep the game alive. Yeah. They're like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think they had a hard time getting loans because they're like, yeah, look, we're going to get paid like millions of dollars on our first paycheck. So we're good for it. But like, otherwise, our game just dies tomorrow if we can't pay this server bill.
That is mind blowing. I had no idea it was that expensive.
Yeah. No, servers ain't cheap, man. I get why a lot of indie devs don't do multiplayer on their first title because they're like, we're not going to deal with servers. I can't afford
this. You kidding me?
Yeah. Not to mention the cheaters and all that stuff. All the stuff you got going against you as an indie dev. You're like, we can't police this stuff.
Yeah. I'm just Todd. I'm just here to.
Yeah. Battlebit seems to have done an incredible job at policing cheats, though. I honestly don't fully understand how they did it. They sort of told me, but they have a very dedicated community too that like Kind of does a little bit of what Valve does, which is like player reviewed. They'll like review stuff and then they'll make the call and then the devs will ban them and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Mm-hmm.
Once someone gets flagged a couple of times, then it goes to like a community and then they kind of go from there.
Yeah. And they have such a good system for reporting and everything in that game. And you're just like,
really simple. Yeah.
How is Battlebit doing all this stuff so much better than like any other multiplayer game where you're constantly dealing with cheaters and toxic players and stuff? And Battlebit's like, we'll just mark them and it'll go to our community thing. And they'll be like, yeah, this dude's toxic. Well, let's ban him, and then they just handle it. It's pretty impressive, man. But it is interesting that that's become a big component of game design now, is fostering a healthy game community, right? It's like you have to take an active part in that now as a developer. It's like, yeah, if it's multiplayer, make sure your players.
It speaks badly. It speaks horribly of your game. Like, I know a lot of people that don't play Rainbow Six Siege anymore because of the player base. They just don't want anything to do with it because they know they're not going to have fun.
Well, it's like hopping into a game of Call of Duty and then at the end around score screen and everybody gets their comms on and you're just like, this is the worst experience ever. Like nothing makes me mute comms faster than that. But it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I know these are the people I play with now. That kind of sort of sets the tone for like, who am I against? Oh, a bunch of people who are going to like throw hate speech out there the first second they got,
throw out gamer words left, right, and center. Yep.
Yeah, you're like, cool. Well, good to know who's playing, Watching any good movies lately?
I wish. I've been pretty boring this last week. I've been very boring. Been playing a lot of Age of Empires. That's about it.
Dude, you and Age of Empires, man. You got to.
I'm going pro. Okay, I'm just gonna. I'm announcing
I'm
today.
I'm all for it, dude. I'm gonna be your number one fan. I'll be all your tournaments.
Thank you, Level. Yeah. But no, I've been reading a bunch, but I have watched Jujutsu Kaisen. I've been going through that anime because everyone's been raving about it. I got to a particular scene with a particular person holding someone else's hair.
While they threw up?
No, while they punched him in the face. Don't worry about it. The internet went crazy over it. Okay. And so if you've seen Jujutsu Kaisen, you probably know what I'm talking about.
I might have actually seen that meme online already. I don't know.
Yeah, big muscly blonde guy holding another blonde guy's hair who kind of, who looks a little feminine. Yeah, that was the meme. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so the show's good. My one issue with it, though, is that it tries to explain its magic system, and its magic system is so goddamn convoluted and confusing. And I'm just like, what even the world is going on? Like, why are you even trying to explain this? Just be like, hey, this guy, he's able to do this magic, and then I'm cool with it. You don't need to go into like the nuance, of it. It's a shonen. Just fight each other. Mm-hmm. Quit talking.
It reminds me of like Gundam Wing, where they try and explain the politics, and you're like, just stop. Just stop explaining. I saw that when I was a kid. I thought it was dumb because I didn't understand any of the like relationships of the factions. I was like, this is politics, and politics is confusing, and it goes over my head. Then I watched it again as an adult, and I was like, this is terrible. They haven't.
It's still bad.
Yeah, nothing makes sense because it just doesn't make sense. You're like, all right, yeah. I watched a movie called The Holdovers that I would recommend.
The Holdovers, okay.
Yeah, it's sort of a coming-of-age comedy.
Okay.
Takes place, I think, in the 70s, sort of at a boarding high school. I guess like you'd send your kids away to high school back then or more. I guess you can still do it a bit. But Paul Giamatti's a teacher there, and it's kind of, the holdovers are the kids who stay at the school during winter breaks because for whatever reason their families can't take them back at that point. So they're usually kind of the kids with weird stuff going on in the home life, So it's kind of like Dead Poet Society vibes, if that, but a little bit funnier. Kind of a little more tongue-in-cheek.
I would hope so if it was a comedy.
Yeah, no, it's got a bit more comedy stuff to it. I liked it. I thought it was really good. They take a very 70s vibe to like the way they shoot it. So like the intro credits have got all the kind of the the filmy quality of like the dirt on the film. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and then they'll do funny shots where they zoom in. Nobody zooms with a camera lens anymore because it's cheesy, right? But like they did that all the time with movies back then because they're like, look, we've got a Panavision lens that has a zoom on it.
Zoom.
So they do that kind of stuff during the movie, and it really does give it this older sense, but clearly it doesn't look like absolute garbage, which means they shot it on modern technology. But I enjoyed it a lot.
When I think zooming, I think of handheld, like home video stuff, which is probably what they were going for.
Yeah. So they do that a bunch in the movie, which is funny because you're like, that's what they used to do back when they had a good way of doing, back when they thought that was a cool technique. And then later on, they're like, yeah, we're just going to like dolly closer to the subject and not do crappy zoom effects. But yeah, they just did it a lot back in the day. And it just gave me the giggles watching it. I enjoyed it. So if anybody's,
recommend it though.
Yeah, I recommend it. If you're in the mood for sort of a coming of age comedy, dramedy type thing, it's good.
Nice.
Yeah. Can't remember if I watched too much else. The Great British Bake Off, but with the kid version. My kids watch that sometimes.
There's a kid version of it now.
It's pretty adorable.
I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, the normal show is adorable too. So
yeah,
I imagine the kids version would be even more so.
Yeah, and watching my kids get into it too, they're just like glued to the screen.
It is such a wholesome show too.
Yeah, you're baking cookies and cakes and stuff, and
you're just rooting for them. You're like, oh my god, bless your heart. That is the cutest little cupcake I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Just great.
And then they all hug each other when they get kicked off the show, and they're
like, oh, look at that. They're not all dicks. Yeah. No, it's good.
Yeah. It's good. It's a nice wholesome version of what that formula used to be, which was just like people in tears and their makeup
Nightmare
running.
Kitchen.
And Gordon Ramsay like berating people.
You're the worst. Putting two breads in between their
I love
head.
that
like,
one.
What are you? I'm a stupid sandwich. Like, what is this?
Well, did you know Gordon Ramsay does a children's cooking show now, right?
Yeah, and I think it's
he's pretty wholesome.
Too.
Yeah. No, he's like, he puts on dad vibes,
Gordon Ramsay, I don't think is a bad guy. He is a performer and he performs. And
I've enjoyed it when he berates these poor people that come in on the show. And like, yeah, I'm an idiot sandwich.
When I saw a clip, when apparently all the food, like when they do those taste tests, right? They're like, this is terrible. It's all cold food because the way that production with the TV, it takes a while
forever
to get. So they make two dishes, and the one dish that they actually review it on is done off camera where it's hot and it's ready. And then the one that they're eating on camera is the cold version. And so when they're acting like, oh, this is so good, or it's trash, it's like, well, yeah, it's trash, or it's good, but it's cold. It's room temperature.
That is pretty interesting. I mean, thank you for ruining the magic of the show for me now.
I didn't mean to ruin it for you, but hey, here we are.
Yeah, it probably doesn't matter as much with pastries and stuff. But because, I mean, you're not often serving hot pastries and whatnot. But for the rest of the cooking stuff, it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, those camera people take forever, dude. They gotta adjust the lighting and gotta get everything in and blah, 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 blah.
Gotta get the right shot.
Yeah, these guys could learn from YouTubers, man. Just like, bang it out, dude. You just gotta bang it out.
Get it out there. It doesn't matter about the quality, it's the content.
Yeah. Timing, man. It's all about timing and your title. The coolest,
literally
the best bake-off of all time. I can't believe this bake-off. Yeah. Put a red arrow pointing at the cake.
I saw like just a video title, and it was a prominent YouTuber, and the title was so vague. I literally had no idea what the topic was, and it had millions of views. It's like, I'm not clicking on this just because. I'm not rewarding this kind of behavior anymore. This is
what
so
I've been
pathetic.
really upset with, and this is a little inside shop talk, but like The click-through rate is the most important metric to YouTube. So when they see a high click-through rate, but a low retention rate, they don't give a crap. And they'll just show that video to people because that's what they want the most.
Now, for people that don't know what click-through rate is, can you explain?
Yeah, sorry, I thought it was a little self-explanatory, but fair enough. It's when you see a thumbnail or a title for a video, and the click-through rate is the percentages of times that they show it to you, how many people click on it. So like a very high click-through rate would be like 8%. That would be huge, right? If 8% of the people that saw this thumbnail clicked on it, now that video is going to go viral. YouTube's going to show it to everybody. But the retention rate or the watch time rate becomes a secondary metric for them, which really sucks because as a content creator, you want to make something that people are going to engage in for a while. You want people to enjoy your content enough to watch at least a good percentage of your video, right?
And not just have it be a title and a catchy thumbnail.
And that is a metric that YouTube cares about to some degree. And they say it's one of their most important metrics, but time and time and time again, I will see some of my content go out there that has an average click-through rate, but an incredible retention rate, like really like double what my normal retention rate. And then YouTube's like, we're not going to show this to people because whatever, Because
we're YouTube.
And then I'll put out a video that has crap retention rate, really bad. But the click-through rate's like through the roof, and that'll be the one that goes viral. So I'm like, cool. So people are clicking on this, watching for 3 minutes on average, and that's the one that YouTube's like, yes, more people watch
You could
this.
argue that it's because people are clicking through it because they're interested, but they're not like a fan of you. So you people that watch your content regularly will watch it longer, and then new people who aren't as invested in your kind of content don't watch it as long.
Technically, you should see the retention rate drop off as it gets shared with more people. But I've seen stuff that starts off with low retention rate, but high click-through rate get promoted like crazy.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's just inside shop talk, but it is annoying. And part of why I think they do that is because they're just competing with TikTok right now. TikTok is like the mortal enemy of YouTube, and TikTok does all the things that you would expect them to do, which is like the first time I opened TikTok ever, it was a video of somebody twerking, like, nothing. Nice. I hadn't input any like preferences, nothing. It was just like logged in, first thing, somebody twerking. And I was just like, okay, TikTok, like touche, right? Like they know what they're doing, right?
Yeah. On Twitter now, I'm getting ads for OnlyFans, and I'm not like clicking on them, or I'm not like visiting certain websites. And it's just like, hey, find your favorite creators today. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll find those creators. All right.
Yeah, I will say the Twitter algorithm lately has been, I'm like, why is it showing me all these like
absolute dog water,
street violence in like Argentina
like
or something? Yeah,
like actually people dying. I'm like,
and there's not a warning.
Want to watch this.
Yeah, I think literally this morning I was scrolling through because I only subscribe to game people and like
me too,
artists, people who do like digital art and stuff.
Literally,
that's pretty much the only people I subscribe to. And then it'll be like, here's a gang shooting in like, I don't know, Chicago or something. And it's like people dying in front of my eyes. And I'm like, why?
I'll literally click like, I'm not interested in this. Stop. Yeah. And then like the next clip is like something. I'm like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive, man. Whatever they're tweaking with the algorithm over there, it's like, it's definitely for the engagement rate of the platform versus, catering specifically to what you might want and letting you log off. You're like, oh, nothing going on in the game world, I guess I'll log off. And Twitter's like, no, don't log off.
Wait. Have you seen this other person get shot? It's like, no, I don't want to see someone die. Yeah. I don't see people get hurt.
Yeah.
That's not why I'm here. There's like no warning too. It's just like, here's someone dying. God, it's traumatizing almost.
It's wild because we think we're in like the golden age of like media and accessibility, but like the news companies, agencies back when it was all TV, they used to have, it was either a regulation or more of an agreement where they wouldn't show violent news until like after 8 p.m. or something like that. So they'll have this like thing where it's
and
like
they'd like warn you too.
Yeah. So that like during the day you'd be getting politics, you'd be getting economy, you'd be getting weather, whatever. You know, what's going on? Maybe there'd even be positive content in there, right? Can you imagine somebody reporting on something
in the world?
Nice?
Everything isn't just death and decay. Yeah.
I know. You open Twitter, you're like, well, the world's burning, you know, and then you go outside, you're like, it's not burning. People are pretty happy
bad out here.
Nice.
It's a little cold, a little nippy, but
yeah. It's I don't know what the solution is, dude, but it's wild. Maybe just get off social media. Maybe
I think that really is the solution. Is just stop going on social media.
Except to consume our content.
Which you can find.
Yes, which you can find on YouTube and all the podcasting platforms. Also, thank you to the Patreon members who are watching us live right now. We look forward to seeing you guys every week, even Jason. And sorry, Jason, he's always the butt of every joke. When you're not the butt of the joke, Matt, it's Jason. But check out the Patreon link in the video description if you want to support the podcast. Matt and I are officially putting all the money back into the podcast pretty soon. Matt did buy a swanky new mic arm now, so
I did. Now I was going to say I didn't even mention it. Yeah, it's nice, right?
Yeah, I like it, dude. Yeah, we're going to talk more about that in the post-podcast Q&A session, which Patreon members get access to. For everyone else, thank you so much for dropping by, hanging out. Let us know how we did in the comments. Drop some content suggestions down there as well. Hit the subscribe button. Like us if you think we did a good job. Ding the bell to beat that YouTube algorithm. And Matt will close us out here with some words of wisdom.
So going back to our education talk, always remember that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I like that. That was a Benjamin Franklin quote.
Hey, we're stepping up our game over here. Like it. Yeah. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome.
Cheers. Because my Brandon Sanderson quotes weren't apparently good enough for you.
He's stepping it up.
Doing what I can.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
Bye.